An investigator in the JonBenét Ramsey case says, quote, "This is our year to solve the murder of the 6-year-old from almost 30 years ago, found dead in her basement hours after she was reported missing." I covered the case for years back in the day, and I will tell you, I've gone from thinking that it was likely that mom, Patsy Ramsey, murdered the daughter with the help of a cover-up from her husband, to thinking more recently that they almost certainly did not do it. A new Netflix documentary on the murder covers the other suspects over the years, the evidence. It's highly critical of the police investigation. And the day after the documentary came out, the new Boulder police chief, Steve Redfern, acknowledged past errors.
There are a number of things that people have pointed to throughout the years that could have been done better, and we acknowledge that is true. However, it is important to emphasize that while we cannot go back to that horrible day in 1996, our goal is to find JonBenét Ramsey's killer. Our commitment to that has never wavered.
An explosive new report from the New York Post on Sunday quotes 2 investigative sources in the case. One who said pretty bluntly, quote, "We effed the case up from the start." A police source adding that with new blood, new investigators on the case, quote, "We can finally fix it." That hope for what's next echoed by the other source who said it feels like closing the case is within reach and, quote, "We're hoping for 2025. This is our year." JonBenét's father, John Ramsey, has remained highly critical of the police investigation.
I mean, the mistakes they made are pretty well documented, and we just wanted them to accept help from the outside, and they refused to do that for really up until now, as far as we know. There is some good news, and it appears that the city or whoever oversees the police department is cleaning house.
The Netflix docuseries clearly takes the position that neither the parents nor their 9-year-old son, Burke Ramsey, could have done it. But I'm unclear on exactly how or what could still crack this case. Is there still DNA to test? Joining us, someone who has some answers on this. We covered the case together. Back then, author and investigative reporter Paula Woodward, who's featured in that documentary. She's written 2 books on JonBenét. One is called We Have Your Daughter, The Unsolved Murder of JonBenét Ramsey 20 years later, and Unsolved, The JonBenét Ramsey Murder 25 years later. Paula, good to see you. Thank you for coming on the show. Appreciate it. All right. So what do they have that could potentially break the case open?
They still have a minuscule amount of DNA that should be tested. They need to turn that DNA over to a competent national lab. They have refused to do that for at least 2 years and at least 10 years since that technology became available. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know why they're doing it. But again, they're stalling, Dan.
Now, the police are denying that, right? They're saying that they are not, they have not been delaying and they have not been postponing anything, correct?
That's right. But the police for at least 15 years have not given a press conference on it. They will not answer any questions on it. So that statement is issued in a press release and their word has to be taken. No one can ask them any questions. They just won't answer it. So where's the transparency in that?
Yeah, they said the assertions, number one, that there's viable evidence and leads we're not pursuing to include DNA testing is completely false. Additionally, it was the Boulder Police Department, not the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, who convened the cold case review panel in December 2023 as part of its investigation efforts. Well, look, if there are still concerns about the Boulder Police that you have and maybe others have, how is this case going to get cracked?
Do you know, Dan, 2.5 years ago in April of 2022, a petition was given to Colorado Governor Jared Polis. 38,000 people have signed it. The petition says, hey, Governor, would you please take the DNA aspect of the case away from Boulder Police? He blah-blahed it and didn't really do anything. John Ramsey contacted him, said, can we meet? And the governor blocked him online from contacting him again, which is kind of petty. Then the Boulder District Attorney, Michael Doherty, simply won't do anything about the DNA. He just says, talk to Boulder Police. Well, since that, I mean, they're not doing anything. It's very simple to turn that over to the FBI, who's working with them, but can't do anything without Boulder Police's permission, and get it tested with like Othram. That's what happened in the Moscow, Idaho student killing case, the chief called in the state police, he called in the FBI. The FBI said, let's get this tested nationally. That's what needs to happen. They refuse to turn it over. If they've turned it over, hey, prove it.
You're convinced that John and Patsy Ramsey were not involved in the death of their daughter, correct?
I've never said that before. There's just not, the evidence isn't there.
The evidence isn't there to convict, you mean to implicate them?
To implicate them, right. Correct.
And what about the ransom note? I mean, what do you make? It seems to me with this 2.5-page ransom note, right? It's totally fake and phony. Somebody who knew something about the family or at least felt comfortable in the house wrote it, right?
Yeah. Do you think it was a taunt, Dan? Do you think it was somebody making all this stuff up and they were taunting?
Maybe.
Hey, you can't catch me. I don't know. I mean, there are no swear words in it. Her name is never mentioned in it. It's got bizarre words like attaché case.
Right, right.
What's with that? And then they find the note, and their daughter's already dead in the basement. It really is.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen, and don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.